Last night, when I had them all standing next to each other, and I was just kind of looking at them, Josh's looked bigger than all of them, and his is smaller because of the monocoque in the front.
Oh, yeah, more
Steve's looked the smallest, and his is the biggest.
That's funny.
And Greg's looked smaller than Josh, and Josh's looked big. And Josh's is the smaller bike.
That's funny.
Hike it up and do it again! Hike it up and do it again! Yeah, boy! You popped so high that I kind of trimmed you. You got stuck behind the tree.
Yes, man.
Those milliseconds.
Thanks, brother!
This particular bike was an offshoot of the production stuff that we did. I mean, last year they were all on production frames. Except for Steve Peat, he wanted a longer one. So we basically took the production frame and just grew it in length. But it had the rear suspension that everyone else had. And watching the whole season go by, John Cancelera, the RockShox guy here, was having problems with these guys blowing up the rear damper. Because they just basically, they go faster than normal human beings. It was at John's suggestion that we explore going to the longer shock, the longer stroke damper. In order to do that, we had to build non-stock suspension bikes. And I knew that that whole project would kind of flounder unless someone sort of championed it. So I had to, convince Rob to make it official. So that's basically what myself, Mike Woods, and Doug were working on the second half of last year, trying to get the program set up so that we could painlessly get these guys on these custom bikes at this time of the year, instead of having to worry like the night before Sea Otter, building them up.
Josh, when was the last time you were on a downhill bike?
Talking with Steve prior to your last run is that while John is dialing in your suspension, during the day I'll probably be trying to listen and ask questions most about the handling of the bike. Look at weed. Serious, this is real. Yeah, this is our first test session.
So it's not good quality.
Yeah, we're waiting. Has to wait a little bit longer. Whoa, it's a. Tested tough. That's funnier than shit. We had to take the parts that the factory uses to make the normal production bike and make it fit a new suspension geometry. But then if you look at the bike, it still uses the same carbon upper link, so that sort of took away some of the freedom. And each time we looked at having to use the original tubes and machine parts and forged parts, it sort of started painting us into a corner. And same with the sheet metal monocoque that's on the top. You can't really justify making a new tool just to make 3 or 6 custom bikes. So we had to work within those constraints, and it was a pretty cool little process of going back and forth and trying to find a way of connecting all these points, still using the same original parts. And we got it done, and the only non-stock part is the machine's lower link, the part that's going to usually be covered with mud, and no one's ever really going to see. I don't think anyone's going to see it on a magazine photo, unless the bike's standing still and you get up really close to it. So, in order to keep the connection with what everyone else can buy, I think we still did, still hit the points we needed to hit, and it still looks like a V10. And it's kind of like thinking about, I guess an analogy would be, in the motorsports world, World Superbike. They're supposed to be production bikes, but you know that they're not the same bikes that the customer buys, like a Ducati Superbike as raced by, world-class athletes isn't necessarily the one that you can go down to your Ducati dealership and buy. But they all are based on the same production parts. It's the same production engine block, same frame pieces, same bits and pieces, but they just were put together with the end user in mind. In our case, it was these 3 big, fast guys. And they're pretty fast.
Everything's good about it. I mean, mine's pretty similar to my bike for last year, but we got a few little tweaks in there that I feel really good on it straight away. So. Especially in the flat corners, I felt the bike was stuck a lot better into the ground.
No, we didn't. The shock felt it.
You could sit and just wait for it. It didn't drift out or change a lot. I felt just really stable and really confident on it.
Everything else on this is as you finished up last season, right? Yeah. Tire pressures, fork setup,
Yes.
pressures, dials, everything else.
Yep. I went off my notes from last year.